start. Okay. So first, let me welcome everyone to the presentation. For anyone that doesn't know me, I'm Tina. I own Vibrant Travel, and we're here today to welcome Sebastian Leroy from AmaWaterways. And Sebastian is going to take us on a virtual cruise down the Danube and through Southeastern Europe. Sebastian was born near Marseille, France, and he studied winemaking in school. He later became a winemaker in Germany, and he has been with AmaWaterways for, I guess, about 8 years now, and he's worked both on board and shoreside. So he comes to us with a wealth of information, not only about the cruise that we're going to take tonight, as well as AmaWaterways, but he can share information about the wine we might be able to taste on the way down the Danube. So without further ado, I'll welcome Sebastian. Sebastian, if it's all yours.
Thank you so much. I mean, I will have to have you come more often to do these introductions. Thank you very much, Tina. That's one of the best I've heard in a very long time.
Well,
good evening, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. As you just heard, my name is Sébastien Leroy, and yeah, I'm French. I'm sure you would have noticed that with the accent at some point. And I've been with AmaWaterways for 9 years, but in the river industry, in the river cruise industry for 19. Because when I was a winemaker in Germany, I was doing both. Because basically I was giving wine tastings. I mean, I was welcoming river cruise ships. And I will tell you at the time, it's 2002, 2003. So the river cruise industry at the time was completely different from the river cruise industry we know nowadays. And I will tell you that the river cruise industry has taken a big turn in the past 5 months, once again. And tonight, actually, I think it's for the better. I mean, we only see improvements. I mean, you will not see me talking about negative things, because I think that anywhere we look, there are positive things on the horizon. And certainly the river cruise industry has been blessed. We've been lucky in that sense that, you know, when and we can talk about COVID for a few seconds, and after that we will really embark on our journey. But COVID hit when the river cruise industry was on winter break, to call so, because most of our ships in Europe do not sail in January, February, and until the beginning of March. So it was a bad for a good that this disease, this weird virus, basically hit us at the end of January and in February. The good news is that we have had time to think about safety protocols, and frankly, there's something that might surprise you. I mean, having been a cruise manager on these ships for such a long time, we've seen quite a few diseases, and we had decided to treat basically COVID like a norovirus, and you pretty much have there are no real differences. I mean, because what you have, if you have a norovirus outbreak, but what do? You disinfect everything. You make sure that people stay distant from others, that they don't touch anything. So we know how to deal with that. And the great news is that the ships were already built with that in mind, with the possibility of a possible disease where we would not want to have any cross-contamination and any spread of a disease. So that's a great start. And I will say in a few minutes that we have started cruising already, but I want to show you what is AmaWaterways first. There you go. So usually I ask at this point, but since you're all muted, usually at this point I ask who wants to go, and usually people want to go on a cruise already. And so the only thing, I mean, this is a video that we really made last year in the Budapest area. So really a beautiful region, and you will see that where we will go in a few moments is really a great area of Europe, an area actually that is not that well known compared to other parts of Europe. I mean, everybody knows the Rhine, everybody knows the Upper Danube. When you think about France, I mean, if we think about the Seine River going through Paris, we think about the Rhone River. These are rivers that have become very familiar to everyone. And this newcomer, you know, I would call these rivers, I mean, the Lower Danube, the Douro, also in Portugal. These are the new exciting destinations. And we've seen an uptick in reservation and the interest for the Lower Danube lately. That is absolutely amazing. And frankly, this is the last cruise I did. Actually, I did it the other way. So we started in Transylvania and went all the way up to Budapest. And you will see that it's a beautiful, beautiful region. Now, for those of you who have never been on a river cruise before, I always like to start with this slide because it's important to understand. We know that many of our guests have been on oceans before, but the number of people who have been on a river cruise is not that big. So if we want to try to not talk about comparison, because there is no comparison, but river cruising and ocean cruising are two completely different animals. But if we want to talk about contrasts, there you have one. The oceans will take you to the country, and you will go basically along the coast, where the river will take you completely through the country. And the experience automatically will be completely different because you will be docking in the heart of the cities. The second big difference is that you will have way shorter distances to cover, which means that you will be able to stay much longer in all these areas. And this gives you a lot of flexibility. You know, you don't have to come back to the ship at 4 p.m. You will see that we have a real lot of time, and that's what makes it really beautiful. And that's what allows our guests. I think river cruising is a little more educational for people because you really get to enjoy and to get immersed in these cities. What I like when I'm on the ship, what I like to tell my people is like, you know that we will be visiting the city today, but feel free to go back tonight because the town has two different faces, two completely different facets, and whether you see it during the day or during the night. And that's something that is very, very interesting, especially in these areas that are post-communist countries, where we will be going in a few minutes, who are basically catching up, who were not communist countries before. So that's a point that is very important. Just 50 years of their history, I mean 60 if we count it completely, where they have been behind the Iron Curtain. But before that, they were European countries developing like others, and now they're trying to catch up. And you will see that the places are absolutely magnificent. Now, I would just like, before we start, I would just like to mention these three people, because they're the ones who have created AmaWaterways, at least Rudi, our CEO, who is on the left. Rudi Schreiner, CEO of AmaWaterways, founder of AmaWaterways, architect by trade, genius, I would say, because he really has led us even through this pandemic with really some genius, and his none less brilliant wife, Christine Karst. For those of you who have seen her maybe on, because we've been doing quite a lot of Facebook Live. So there have been quite a lot of presentations, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and she's always talking with Gary, so Christine Karst and Gary Murphy. And this woman is absolutely amazing as well. I mean, I had the chance to know them very, very well. And it's really great to work with these folks who, when you think about the size of our company now, we have 25 cruise ships, and I could take, if I needed now, I could take my phone and just call them, and they stay very close to people. And AmaWaterways is really about this family spirit that is there. It has been like this all the time. I'm very proud to say that we're the only ones in the industry who have not laid off anyone at this stage, just because they care about their people. And I think it speaks volumes for them. And that's why I'm very, very happy to work and to mention them when I do any presentation. Now, where do we go? But these are all our destinations. But today we will focus on this part. And so here is Budapest, and we will focus on this part here of the Danube River. So the lower Danube, so going through quite a few countries, because we will start in Hungary. The cruise starts in Hungary. If you would like to go on a pre-cruise extension, we have the possibility, and Tina will tell you about that. If you want to know about all the details, about the pricing, about the good deals that you can get to you, reach out to her, because she's the one in the know about all that, because she's the one who will be able to talk to our reservation team and get you the best vacation and the vacation of a lifetime. So we could start in Vienna for a pre-cruise extension, and then you embark the ship in Budapest, and we will go all the way, so through Hungary. We will spend a morning in Croatia, you see, because of course everybody thinks Croatia, basically everybody thinks about the Adriatic Sea portion. But here we will be in Croatia, in Vukovar and Ilok, and then in the afternoon we will arrive Novi Sad and then go through Serbia and then cruise through the Iron Gates between Serbia and Romania and then go to Bulgaria. And then at the end we will have the choice. Either you will go back home, or you can go to Transylvania, or you can even go to this magnificent city that is Istanbul in Turkey. Now, our fleet, as I mentioned, we have 23 operating cruise ships at the moment. 3 are in construction, and one of them will be a very, very new thing. And if you want to join us, I'm sure that Tina will want to talk about this on another presentation. We will have a new ship going to Egypt next year. So that will be something that will be amazing too. Yes.
I lost the connection for about 30 seconds, and I came back in when you were saying Istanbul. What are we doing in Istanbul? Do we sail across the Black Sea to it?
No, there is a possibility of a post extension. So the disembarkation is actually in Bucharest, and then you fly to Istanbul and spend 3 days post-cruise there. I mean, in a magnificent hotel, which is the Four Seasons at Sultan Ahmed, so right next to the Blue Mosque, which is the old Roman prison. Not to scare anyone, but it's really the most beautiful hotel you will find in Istanbul. And I've been there quite a few times, and it's really a lovely place. But also Transylvania. That's what I'm saying. You know, when you're talking about river cruising, it's really about, when I say it's a little bit more educational, is because you have so many different aspects in a country that you will cover, that I always say it's always good to do a little bit of homework. Like, I'm going to go in this area. What will I see? What can I expect? And you will see with the few pictures that we have ready for you that there are quite a few things to expect. Just one little thing. We are cruising at the moment. So we started cruising in July already. So the great news, after 9 weeks, so we have only European passengers. We cannot have North American passengers at the moment. But the great news is that everything is working. The ships, I mean, led by the Ama Cristina, where the pictures are taken from, are doing absolutely fantastic. And just to go ahead and answer the question before it's asked, how many COVID cases have we had in 9 weeks? 0, nothing, which shows that our protection measures, health questionnaires that we asked before, it's working. The crew is healthy, the guests are healthy. We continue with follow-up with our guests to make sure that everything is fine after the cruise. So, and it's working actually so well that the folks you see on TV, on the screen right there, they're already at their 3rd cruise. In 9 weeks, they loved it so much that they've done 3 cruises already. So that's why we said that we would feature them. So that's just a little thing for you to see the experience. So that's in the lounge. We have put these dividers. So you have them in several areas. You've just seen it at the reception too. So these plexiglass protections for everyone. We request when you're on board the ship that you wear a mask when the physical distancing is not possible. I'm very sorry, you will not hear me talking about social distancing, because that's not social distancing we're talking about. It's really physical distancing. And I really, after 6 months, I really hate this term, social distancing. We ask our guests to wear the mask where the physical distancing is not possible. And for those of you who would have been on a river cruise ship before, you will picture very easily what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the corridors where you have the cabins. And after that, we will ask also our guests to wear the mask when they are going in the lounge or in the restaurant before they are seated. After that, of course, when you're sitting, this is exactly right what you see here. You will be able to enjoy your cocktail. And it's also very true that it's much easier to enjoy a cocktail without the mask, because it can be messy if you keep the mask on. So it is working really well. And the great news is that now we know that we can implement all these safety measures that we've had on the Ama Christina. We put them fleet-wide, and that's actually amazing. We are still waiting. We are adapting. So basically, waiting for the directives of the European Union. You know that. So basically, there is this list that is updated by the European Union every 2 weeks. So once our North American guests will be able to go, we will start cruising, and that's also something important, because we know that some of our friendly competitors have already announced they are not cruising until January, April, etc. I can tell you with certainty, because I have it from our owners, and not so long ago. Actually, it was yesterday, and they said if they open, we cruise. So that's absolutely certain. And no matter how many guests, even if we have 30 guests on the departure, we will cruise, because it is important that those of you who want to cruise, and frankly, I will be one of the first going, because it is important to also experience all these areas, and to be back on the ship. To come back to our normal, because there is no new normal. This is a temporary thing. We have to deal with it at the moment, but we will come back to what we are used to. So now we see. So that's the crew. So that's what you can expect. And so Captain, that's Captain Ron, a very, very famous captain, cruise manager Dragan, hotel manager Violetta, chef Robert here. Of course, I forgot her name. So I wanted to show off and show that I know all the crew, but of course I forgot one person. But you see, the most important is to look here behind. That's the corridor. So obviously, when you look at the corridor like this, you can understand that there you will need to have a mask, because when you cross path, it's only 8 feet wide, so you cannot keep the 6 feet unless you're completely against the wall. But who would want to do that? So that's the ship from the outside. Of course, we have the sun deck, and on the sun deck, the European authorities only allow 100 guests on board at the moment. Our regular maximum capacity is 156. At the moment, we're only allowed to have 100 guests, and this is something that is evolving. But you can imagine that on the ship already that has a lot of space in normal times, now there is ample space, and that's what I think will become also kind of a new luxury. The luxury of space, if I can call it so. So inside of the staterooms, of course, we use hospital-grade disinfectants. You have sanitizer. We even provide masks if you don't have them. There are daily temperature checks, okay? In the morning before going to the breakfast, we will just make a little temperature check to make sure that everything is okay. Spacious rooms, that's very important. If you want to have lunch or breakfast or dinner in your room, you have the possibility to do so. We have now implemented a complete butler service throughout the ship. So that's, of course, you can use our 2 dining rooms, but if you decide that you want to eat on the balcony, feel free to do so. Now, let's go to Budapest. Let's go and start our cruise. So we will embark the ship in Budapest, and actually what you see here on the Chain Bridge and the Royal Palace, so that's the Royal Palace is on the Buda side. So that's for those of you who would arrive directly at Budapest airport, and you will be welcomed by our AmaWaterways staff at the airport, and then escorted to the ship. So what happens there, you will have a welcome reception. You will have the captain talking about what will happen during the week in terms of navigation. He will talk to you about what not to do, like, for example, touching the walls of a lock when you're in a lock, because everybody feels like a little kid. And I see Charlie doing, but I can tell you, I've seen that many times. You can say to everyone, don't touch the bridge, don't do this. Everybody does it. Everybody tries to do it. And if we see you, we mention it on the PA system. So We will arrive in Budapest, we will embark, and then we will start. You have the tour of Budapest, which is a combined bus and walking tour. So something that is very important about all the tours that I will be talking now, they are all included. So what do I mean with that? You will see that some days there will be tours in the morning, in the afternoon, and in the evening. It's not you have one tour included per day or per port. All the tours are included. So you don't have to worry about what happens if I take a second and a third tour. You will not be charged for that, because that's how when we say the tours are included, they are. Okay, so that's something very important. Now, about the tours themselves, it is very important to know that we have always been very conscious that not everybody, for example, walks at the same pace and has the same walking capabilities. So that's why you will always have the choice every day to choose between the active walking group, between or the regular walking group, or the gentle walking group. You have 3 walking paces. We don't have slow, we are gentle. That's very important to note as well. This is very important because we want to make sure that everybody enjoys a city or a place at their own pace. How many times have I seen when I was on the ship, people coming to me and like, well, Sebastian, I don't think I will go today because I don't want to slow down the rest of the group. And my answer has always been the same. You paid, you're here to enjoy your time, so you go. Take the gentle tour, that's why it's here. And to those who are like, well, you know, is it okay if we take off on our own? Yeah, of course. If you want to do self-exploration, you can do that as well. It is flexible. That's something that is very important. We want people to, it's vacation, so you should have a great time, no matter what. So we have this tour of Budapest. And so as I said, it will take you by bus because, of course, the city is huge. And we will have different stops at, for example, the Fisherman's Bastion. So that's on the Buda side, at the Hero Square, which is one of the actually the main square in the Pest side. Then we will go to the Great Market Hall of Budapest because it's really worth seeing. And there we will always have this walking period. So after that, we will come back to the ship and we will start cruising. And so we are cruising towards another city in Hungary. So that's the Fisherman's Bastion. Sorry, sometimes I start talking and I forget to change the pictures, but that's one of the places that you will see, beautiful, from the 19th century. It looks very old, but it's from the 19th century. And it's all around the Matthias Church on the Buda Hill. Absolutely super place to visit. But and of course, when we leave, we will see Budapest by night, so that you can really enjoy all these monuments illuminated. And that's what I said a few minutes ago. A city during the day and a city during the night are completely different. And I think Budapest is the best example for that. Now, the next morning, we will arrive in Mohacs. So Mohacs is actually a very important town in Europe, especially on the Danube River, because this is the border point, and this is where you exit or enter the so-called Schengen area. So the Schengen area, that's the free moving zone in Europe. So you will see that we will be docked in Mohacs in the morning, and from Mohacs, we will go and visit the city of Pécs. So that's the first choice that you will have. Pécs is absolutely stunning, very important. It was European capital of culture 3 years ago. 4 years ago now, sorry, I mean, time flies. And it is absolutely beautiful. That's the main square. And actually, when you look at this, I mean, this building is absolutely amazing because it is a church mosque. I mean, throughout history, this building has been a mosque and a church, and a mosque and a church. And that's why now everybody knows it as the church mosque. And you have Roman artifacts. I mean, you will visit a Roman chamber, a Roman graveyard, actually, in this city. And everything is absolutely in pristine condition. Why? Because it has never been destroyed. And why has it never been destroyed? Because there was absolutely no interest. The city is far from everything. There was no strategic interest. And the only thing that you have in the city are students. So it's a super big university town. But it is absolutely superb. And you have architecture from the 17th, 18th, and 19th century that is right there. And of course, the church mosque from the 12th century originally. So a lot of things to see in this area. But you might not be interested in learning about Pécs. You might be interested in knowing more about the wines from the area. So we will take you to the first wine tasting. So I know that when you see the name, it looks like, oh my goodness, how do you pronounce Szekszard? It's very easy because SCE is se. Okay, so Szekszard. That's very easy to pronounce. Szekszard wine tasting. So Szekszard, that's the place where we are going. And you have quite a few different areas in Hungary where you have wine. The most famous of them is probably, the most famous of them are the Balaton Lake area, and also an area called Villani. And the third area, that's at the limit of the Villani area where we're going. And you will have some very interesting wines that will taste completely differently from what you know. Simply because the terroir is completely different, because the kind of grapes are not completely different, but grow differently. The cut of the vines is different. Even if you look at the color of the red already, so that's a Pinot Noir, what you see here on the picture. It's a very light one, but it's not the kind of a red that you would expect from a wine of this of Europe. I mean, when you think about Bordeaux wines, Burgundy, Spain, so all these wines, they're always very strong in color. And even if you think of a Pinot Noir from Burgundy, because that's what they make only there, a Pinot Noir from Burgundy would look completely differently from this one. And this has to do with the soil and with the sun and the quantity of sun that they have there, and also how many leaves they keep to protect the grapes when they're growing during the season. When you have the white wines, we're talking a lot about Chardonnays in this area. Very nice place. You visit the vineyard, you visit the cellar, and see exactly how they're making the wines there. And you have a very scenic route to go there. It's about 40 minutes drive to get there, but a very nice morning as well. And usually what happens is that everybody is very happy. You don't know why. After this tour, everybody comes back with a big smile. And after, the rest of the day goes very well. But when we leave Mohacs, you will have a very important point, because I told you it's the entrance or exit point. And we will exit actually the Schengen area. So there will be a big control. The authorities come, it's every time the same. And we will call you, and we will call our guests, and we say, because you have to come. So we call the guests and say, we give you the passport, and you just look to the officer with a big smile, your passport right here, and off you go, you continue your life. And then we are out of the Schengen area, which means as well that we will have quite a few currencies to deal with, because every time we will change a country, we will have a different currency. So in Hungary, the official currency is the, and of course now I forget it again, the forint, so the Hungarian forint. But don't worry, because when you're in Hungary, everybody accepts the euro. But when you start going to Croatia, where you have the koruna, where you go to Serbia, where you have the Serbian dinar, when you go to Romania and Bulgaria, where you have the leva and the lei, you will see that it's very interesting, because of course all of them have different conversion rates. So it's very good. It's very interesting, because you will be working all the time. But you will see, we're here to assist you with that. Don't worry, the reception team is here, the cruise manager is here, and you will have a fun time. I mean, at the end, it looks like Monopoly money that you have, and you bring that home, and you're very happy you went to all these things.
Hey, Sebastian, do they use credit cards yet over there?
Absolutely. But you will see that I always recommend, and so will my colleagues, of course, that you always take the equivalent in every country where you go, except maybe Croatia, because you're just there really for one morning. But for Serbia, Romania, Bulgaria, we always recommend that you change like $10, $15, $20. Just because when you will have the free time, you might want to take a coffee. You might want to, and that's where, or you might need to take a taxi back to the ship, for example. And that's where
it's more fun that way.
Sorry.
It's more fun that way.
Oh yeah, absolutely, 100%. I mean, I'm not showing it to, I'm not showing to you the money that I have here, but my wife has all these envelopes with all the different currencies from everywhere. So that's you get used to it. And after that, even if you have too much money, what do? But you come back. And it makes another nice trip. So, but I told you we are leaving Hungary and we are arriving in Croatia. So that's the next morning in Vukovar. So in Vukovar, there are two the ship will be docked very shortly, just to disembark our guests, and then the ship continues, and the tours will be picked up at the next stop, which will be in Ilok. So Vukovar is unfortunately very well known and I say unfortunately because it's well known for a massacre that took place there at the end of the Balkan Wars. So you will get to see the two different faces of Vukovar. And I like to show the Eltz Palace because this really, for me, is a symbol of the reconstruction of the city. And you will see when you're there with your guides, they will show you how the palace even looked. I saw it in a completely different state 10 years ago. And they have been really working. And that's where you see that these folks want their country back to the beauty that it had before. And it's working very well. They're doing a fantastic job. But we will also take you to the farm because it was a hidden massacre. It was in a farm just outside the city. There is a memorial there with all the bullets. And I'm not going to go too much into detail, but there is a lot of history. And history, unfortunately, is not always very nice. But I believe it is very important to learn the history because, and I'm not going to diverge on any other things, but history is history. It's there, and we need to learn about it to never forget what happened before. And that's what these people do. And that's a great morning for people who want to learn about these Balkan Wars. And what does it mean, Balkan Wars? The explosion, basically, of what was called Yugoslavia. So and you will see that what was one bloc at one time are now 9 countries, maybe 10 with different ethnies, and Croatia is one part of this. But if you don't want to do that, guess what we do? We take you to another wine tasting. So you have this little village of Ilok, and we will go to the winery called Principovac. And Principovac is absolutely superb, very well known for the white wines there. Some of the best white wines you will drink in this area. I mean, really nice, crisp Chardonnay wine. There is a lot of Chardonnay down there. Why is that? Because Chardonnay is one of the oldest, or maybe the actually oldest type of grape that you will find in Europe, and it's really versatile. It adapts to. I mean, you can plant Chardonnay everywhere; it will grow. I mean, except in the Netherlands. The Romans tried that already, but it did not work really well. So we go. So that's what we have in the morning. And as I said, the ship drops us off in Vukovar and then picks us up in Ilok in Croatia. So we will be leaving Croatia because right after that we will be entering Serbia. And the beauty of these, because now that we are not in the Schengen area anymore, is that every time we enter a country and exit a country, there is a clearance, a custom clearance. And that's where you're very happy that you are on an AmaWaterways cruise ships, because the crew, and especially the purser, has a wonderful job to do, is to take care of this clearance. So our purser talks with the authorities, gives all the passports, stamps the passports, and you have to worry about nothing. That's the beauty of it. And in the afternoon, we will arrive to Serbia, and we will come to Novi Sad. And Novi Sad is a beautiful place, as you can see here. And there is no photoshopping, nothing. It is really an incredible place, and the ship is docked approximately 10 minutes. I mean, 10 minutes walk away from the church and the main square. Novi Sad, we will visit the town.
I think your slide stopped. Oh, there we go. We just flipped to Novi Sad.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Thank you very much for telling me this. So yeah, don't hesitate to tell me if something happens like this. So Novi Sad is very well known because you must go back in another part of history, which is really the 16th century, when the Ottoman Empire was invading Eastern Europe, and came very, very close to Austria. Actually, the Heinburg Fortress was really the last bastion just before Vienna to defend against the armies of Suleiman the Great and this Ottoman Empire. And I can show you an example. I hope that I will have. Yes, that's the fortress of Novi Sad, which is called Petrovaradin. And Petrovaradin is absolutely superb. There you go. That's the view that you have there. That's taken from the ship. So that's just to show you where you're docked. And you will have the visit of the city during the afternoon, and you have the possibility to visit the fortress in the evening. And that's the type of light that you would have there. So the great thing is that once again, you have these different types of walks and these different pace of walks. And these are small groups. That's also something that is very important because now we know that we're limited and the size of the groups is limited. Doesn't change that much for us because we already had small groups before. So you will see, and that's the beauty of having a small group, is that not only you will have a better experience, but also your guide will be way less stressed. Because, you know, when you have a guide, and I'm sure you've already seen that, a guide going with a lollipop with 40 people behind trying to follow and understand what the guide is saying, that's not happening with us. That's absolutely not happening. I mean, what I've seen, you know, because we have the bike tours, we have a lot of different tours that are organized. And I've seen in Vienna, for example, a bike tour starting with one guest. But if the guest wants to go, I'm not going to cancel a tour. I mean, the guide is paid, the guide is here. So let's enjoy it. I've seen many gentle walking tours starting with 2 guests. And they were like, oh my goodness, this was a private tour. I've seen hikes going also with 3 or 4 guests. And that's something that is very important. That's where you will feel that the idea is to feel pampered all the time. And trust me, that's what you will have. So little digression here, but so Petrovaradin, a beautiful city. And I'm not talking too much about the evening entertainment, but don't forget that we have evening entertainment on board the ship every evening. So we have guest entertainers coming, and that evening you have a beautiful classical music concert coming on board. And it's really a great city. But as I said at the beginning, if you want to go and enjoy the town, the ship is right there. It's docked right in the heart of the city. And I know many people who go and enjoy a nice cafe. I mean, you see, when we go back here, you have all these little. All these are during the day in this area. When you on the left, when you go back, you have little cafes with terraces, etc. And it's a beautiful, beautiful place to be. But then we will continue our way towards Belgrade. Belgrade is an incredible city. So what you see here, that's the docking. So it's taken from the ship before docking. That's where we dock. And here, so on the top on the left, that's where you have the Illuminations Fortress. And this part up here is already the city center. So we are docked once again in the city center. A lot of different tours there. And you see that the tour of Serbia, of Belgrade, is called City by 2 Rivers. Because actually, the docking place of the ship here is not on the Danube. It's on the Sava River. And these 2 rivers meet really at the end at the Illuminations Fortress. So the next morning we have the city tour, and again you have the possibility to take the bus, or you can do a hike. There is a hike tour offered, and you will visit Belgrade and learn about this beautiful city. In the afternoon, there are a lot of tours that are possible. You can go to you have the possibility to visit Tito's memorial. Because of course, Joseph Tito was very, very important for the country. I mean, he was respected. He was not liked by many people, but he was respected by all of them. And when I say all of them, I'm talking about the Russians and the US American governments. And Tito was this kind of negotiator. You know, he was this kind of person who, he knew what he wanted. He took everything he wanted from both sides, but he was the one who kept peace in this entire area. And you go to the Roses Palace, and that's the Palace of Roses. That's where he is buried, and that's where the memorial is. So that's one of the tours that you have in the afternoon. Or you can go to a brandy tasting to Quburich, and you go to the Avala mountain. So that's, you drive out of the city about 35 minutes. It's a short ride, but you go in the mountains, and when you ride at the top of the Avala mountain, you have the Quburich winery. And brandy distillery, sorry, and that's where you will taste the local brandies. Very, very smooth, actually very nice brandies that you have there. A great afternoon, and then you have also the possibility to have a bike tour through Belgrade. So you go to different places from where you've been in the morning, but really a lot of things. And if you don't want, but you can just have some free time, and we have shuttle buses taking you from the ship to the city center and back every 30 minutes. So you really have a lot of choice. And we are there until very late, until 11:59 p.m. And why do I say this? Because we don't stay until midnight, because at midnight they charge you for another day. So we leave at 11:59. And there you will have a folklore show on board the ship with Talia. Thalia is the name of the troupe, and they're absolutely amazing. They're so well known. They do a North American tourney every 2 years. It is absolutely beautiful. I had the chance to see them when they were in Chicago a couple of years ago, and it's completely different to see them on board the ship and on a gigantic scene, but really a great moment that you will have on board with these folks. And then, so after that, we will have been in Belgrade for the entire day. So that's this. So that's the cathedral of Belgrade. So that's another view. So Orthodox, of course, and another view on Belgrade, but really a beautiful place. And then the next day, it's a cruising day. We are cruising the entire day, and we go through the Iron Gates. And so the Iron Gates, that's the name of the gorge of the Lower Danube. And you see here. I mean, look at this. You see here what I'm circling? That's the face of King Decebal, and you will see that with the ship. And when you think about this one, that's a freight ship here. So you can see can you imagine the size of the carving here? And you will see these places. There is also a little monastery, which is right here. And you will be with so you will be on the ship. You have a nice day of cruising. It is a superb area. That's where you will you will also go through the two largest dams and locks on the Danube, which are called the Iron Gates, Iron Gate 1 and 2, the Portilie de Fiere, as they call them, and really an incredible day. And the chef and his team, they prepare for you a wonderful lunch on the sun deck. I mean, it's really a great time that everybody has during that day. There are also wellness classes, because we have a wellness host on board the ship, and the wellness host is here all the time. You can always take these different classes, wellness classes, and what a better day than when you're cruising the entire time to just also relax a little bit, do some stretching, core strengthening, Zumba classes, you name them, but really a good time during that day. And then in the evening, we will arrive in Bulgaria. So that's the little monastery that I was mentioning to you. But what I think is beautiful is this, really these areas. You will see that from when you enter this gorge, it's called the Kazan Gorge. And you have upper, middle, and lower Kazan. And when you enter there, before that, the Danube is almost a mile wide. And from a mile, it comes to 300 feet. So you can imagine that the current that is right there is very, very strong. And you will be navigating through this entire part. It is simply beautiful. And in the evening, you arrive in Vidin. And in Vidin, so we will stay there overnight, and the next morning, same thing. You're in Bulgaria. We're right in the center of the city, and we have great tours the next day. That's the fortress that you see here is called Baba Vida. Baba Vida is a 12th century castle on the Danube River that was defending the city. But what is really beautiful is this tour. So that's Belogradchik. So Belogradchik is a fortress that was built in these rock formation. You see here that the fortress has been used, basically the rock formation has been used to build the fortress around. It is a great tour, and because you see that you go in the mountains, so you go a little bit away from the Danube, you go in the mountains and visit that. Different levels, of course, of activity. And so you have gentle, regular, active, and then we have the hikers, and the hike really takes you to the top of the rock formation. And what you see here, if you're wondering what it is, the wind created that over millions of years. So this is really a beautiful place. But if you're not interested in hiking, we will take you, because you know that Bulgaria is very famous for their yogurt. You might have heard of an enzyme, an active principle called Bifidus bulgaricum, and bulgaricum from Bulgaria. And you have that in the yogurt, and we will take you to a farm where you will learn, I mean, not only will you learn a little about the yogurt, even if it's not a yogurt farm, and it's really, what they do there is banitsa. And the banitsa is the pastry that you see there, and if you want to go, you will learn to make it. And I always see people, I mean, we always have about 20, 30 people going there, and everybody comes back with what they've made, and they want everybody to taste it. So, I mean, they arrive back with things like, I don't know how many pounds they have, and they want to feed the entire ship with that. But it's really a great afternoon, I mean, a great morning, whatever you choose. I mean, these countries, what I think is also striking in these areas is how nice the people are. That's really something that is great. it's something that you really want to experience yourself. I mean, and that's what I think is also great with us, is that we stay in these areas. So this means that when the ship comes, actually people like us, the locals like us, because they know that our people stay here, and we support the local economies because our food is locally sourced. So it's not like we're coming, dropping people, and then continuing. We stay there, and we're really involved in the local lives, and people really love that. And we always have great relationships with all these cities. There is also a bike tour. So and these are our bikes. I mean, you see that you have helmets, small groups, always 2 guides, one in the front, one in the back. And you have these very nice bike rides that vary from, the shortest one is probably the one at the beginning when we're in Mohacs, which is about 10 miles along the Danube. The one in Vidin is about 13, 14 miles. The longest one, actually, is not really long. Oh, they're about that, 10 to 13, 14 miles, but you have usually 3 hours. So it's not like we are rushed. We bike, we stop, we look, take pictures. So it's really a nice time that we have on these bike tours. And so then we have to continue our way, because we don't stay in Vidin. That's not the end of our cruise. We have to continue towards Russe. And Russe will be our last stop in Bulgaria. And from there, you will have the possibility to, you have quite a few tours starting from Russe. We have the possibility to go to Veliko Tarnovo, which is the city that you see there, which is a former capital city of Bulgaria. So it was way before Sofia was the capital city. Veliko Tarnovo was the capital city of Bulgaria. And the fortress that you see there is absolutely stunning, because the valley is cut by 2 rivers. And the fortress is built on 3 sides of the valley. It's absolutely amazing. And you go there. So we leave in the morning. We go see the fortress, and we have lunch there in the best restaurant in Veliko Tarnovo. And what I love in these areas is really the quality of the veggies. And you might think it's stupid, but you have never eaten better tomatoes than the one that you will eat in Bulgaria. The taste of this food is simply incredible. I mean, I go there for 2 things: the tomatoes, the cheese that they put on it, and the bread. They have kind of a pita bread that they make for you. The bread is probably 15,000 calories, the quantities that I eat, but it's so good. I mean, you cannot miss that. Absolutely not. But then, if you don't want to go to Veliko Tarnovo, you can visit Russe, so the city that we just saw, and with the very nice, main square that is right where the ship is docked. Or you can go to Ivanovo, and that's where you have the rock-hewn churches. So Ivanovo is also a very unique site, because you can visit these little churches, chapels that are carved in the cliff, and the paintings are still there, and they've been there for more than 1,000 years. And you still can see the paintings. It is absolutely beautiful. Small groups go there. But we are never limited, because if we have a lot of interest, what do? But we just hire more guides, and we do more small groups. That's as simple as that. So that's why it's also important to know, never feel like you should book your tours in advance or something. Don't do that. You have time, and I'm giving you a little description here tonight, but when you will be on board the ship, we will go even more into detail. And you can go to your cruise manager and say, I don't know where to go. What would you recommend to me? And we will help you the best we can. So, and then we disembark in Giurgiu. Giurgiu is actually just on the other side of the river. Russe is on one side, Giurgiu is on the other. And from Giurgiu, we will have the possibility to go to Bucharest. So you will visit the capital city of Romania, very famous for, what's actually it's taken from the balcony where I'm standing there is the balcony of the People's House, which is Ceausescu's gigantic palace, which is actually the 2nd largest administrative building in the world, right after the Pentagon. And it's simply, we have a visit of this building. So you walk for about an hour, a good hour in the building. When you finish the tour, you've seen 2% of the building. Absolutely gigantic. And the city, so you see, what I like about Romania, especially when you do the post-cruise extension, look at what you see here. That's typical, communist era. Big buildings, rows of buildings where you put a ton of people, not a lot of big decorations. I mean, it had to be functional. And then you leave Bucharest and you go towards Transylvania and you arrive to the first, and it looks very dramatic, but it's really how it looks, Bran Castle, which is the castle, the original castle of Count Dracula, Vlad Dracul. And it's really a great place. I mean, it's really cool because that's what I think brings the mystic in there, is that if you have bad weather or just some clouds, it looks creepy immediately. But when you have nice weather, it looks absolutely wonderful. And the weather changes super quick there. But we have these beautiful places. So we stay in Brașov in one of the most beautiful hotels I've ever seen. Super modern. I mean, very, very nice. And that's the thing. Look at these colors here. Hard to believe that you're in the same country, huh? When you've seen the capital city, and that's like 2.5 hours drive away. And I was shocked the first time I did that. So when you go to Szekszard, for example, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, a completely preserved medieval village, and you see how everybody's sitting there, and you can go. We have free time. We spend the entire day there. It's and that's Vlad's birthplace. So it's really a wonderful post-cruise extension. You spend 3 days up there. These are other views, and Brașov, really beautiful architectures. And once again, it has not been destroyed because there have never been strategic interests down there. So that's why all the cities, look at Peles. That's the first thing actually that you would see when you leave Bucharest. Peles is on the left side after about an hour. That's a royal castle. That's actually the first castle in Europe where there was an elevator in the castle. That's from the 19th century, a 19th century elevator that still works. So really beautiful places that you will get to visit. So just another view. So Snagov, that's also during the, when we come back from Szekszard. So really beautiful places. And then we come back to Bucharest to take back the plane on the next day. So that's the Athenaeum. That's the concert hall that you have right next to our hotel. So beautiful area. And you visit, you have an extensive visit of Bucharest because it is a huge city to see again. And then, as I said, after that, we go to the airport and we finish our tour. What do you think? Who wants to go?
Great, thank you.
You're very welcome. So, you know that if you've listened to us tonight, and you decide that you want to book this tour or another tour, because you can always go to Tina, and she will be more than happy to give you all the details and put the trips together for you. Just mention to her that you looked at this webinar, and we will give you another $100 off per person. So on any deal that she gives to you, we will add another little thing, something to sweeten the deal even more. And if there are questions, as I said, feel free to ask Tina. And she knows a lot. I mean, she knows almost everything about AmaWaterways. If there's anything she doesn't know about how many steps are there in the people's house or something like this, she will call me, don't worry, and I will give her the answer. I can even tell you how heavy the curtains are in this thing. I mean, sometimes these are details that nobody wants to know, but I happen to know them.
Presentation, Sebastian and Tina.
Thank you.
Yeah, I actually want to tour Dracula's castle.
We do.
I'm a big Dracula fan, so you know.
We do. It's really. I mean, it's already. I will tell you, it's already a challenge to go up there. I mean, you have to go because the castle. That's why it looks so dramatic. It's because it's on a huge rock, on a 100-foot rock. So you have to go up there, and then you arrive at the base of the castle. So then you have to take another, I don't know, 30, 40 days to get up there. And then you visit the entire castle and then come back down, and you have a beautiful park. And that's why when you have a nice weather, people really come and they're like, well, there's nothing creepy about this castle. And then you just need to have like 2 clouds coming and they're like, oh yeah, that's absolutely.
The ships are beautiful.
Thank you.
They look gorgeous.
They really, they have been really, there has been a lot of detail put, you know, in the construction, in the design of the ship. And it goes, I cannot describe to you everything, of course, but you know, it goes from the calculation of the draft of the ship to how big should be the step out balcony compared to just the French balcony. How, for example, when we talk about single, you know, sometimes we have solo travelers. Mm-hmm. We have in our restaurants, for example, we have tables with odd numbers. Because if you have tables with you will have tables with 5 seats. Because this way, it never feels bizarre when somebody sits with people and you don't have an empty chair.
Oh, wow.
So these are all, that's what I'm talking, when I'm talking about details, that's what I'm referring to.
Yeah.
So is that ship unique to your group? I mean, is that a standard design ship or is it unique to your company?
Oh, it is. No, it is totally unique to our company. Totally unique. That's Rudy. That's our CEO. He designed the ships from A to Z.
Wow.
I like how they're all owned. They're all completely owned by you and paid off. They're paid for.
We also like that because not having debt these days is a really good thing.
Yeah, ain't that bad?
Many days.
Yeah.
Yes,
You know,
especially.
one of the things I just absolutely love about AmaWaterways is the detail, not just in the ships, but in the way they treat the passengers. They truly care about the passengers. If you go for a cocktail one night, the next they're going to give you or ask you if you want that exact same cocktail because they listen to you, they talk with you, and they really put a lot of effort into their customer service. And to me, that's so important. When you're on vacation, you don't want to have to think a lot. So they plan it all out, whether it's the cocktails or the trips that you go on. You don't want to have to get on board a ship and someone try to sell you another tour or what have you. It's all there and taken care of. And the people just are, excuse me, so nice. And that's one of the reasons I asked Sebastian to come, because I think he can elaborate far better than I can just on everything that they do and just how much fun these cruises are. So
they are.
It is hilarious.
Yeah.
Well, you know, the slogan is really good because he never thought about it before, where it said the ocean takes you to a country and a river takes you through it. I never thought about that before.
Yeah, that was really well described. That changed my whole thinking about it.
Yeah.
Good.
Sebastian, you pointed out one of the chefs standing on the stairwell. Do the chefs take into account special diets?
Absolutely. That's a very good point. That's I think the beauty of not having anything frozen and sourcing everything locally is that we can cater to everyone as long as we know, even celiac. I mean, we have parts of the galley that are the galley is made such that there will be no cross contamination. The most important is always the same thing, is that we need to know about it.
Yeah. Oh, that's great to hear.
We absolutely, I mean, we know, I mean, you know, even my wife's been with me on many a cruise and she has a gluten allergy and she, I mean, that's absolutely no problem. We just need to know and, you know, to make sure, because of course, the more information we have ahead of time, the better it is. But at check-in, our reception team will ask, is there any dietary restriction we should know about? And if there is, then the guest will meet with the chef and with the maître d' before the welcome cocktail to make sure that as soon as you arrive at the dining table where you are, that everything will be flawless for the entire week. Or 2 weeks if you want to go 2 weeks. Or 3, we can even do 3.
Why not entire
I
month?
come back. I'm so jealous of Europeans already being able to travel.
I know, me too. Me too. Well,
It will come. It will come.
Yeah, it'll come.
does anyone have any other questions for Sebastian? Well, Sebastian, let me say thank you so much for doing this. I think the timing really is helpful for everyone to be able to do it a little bit after work. And I know you've agreed to come back and do 2 others for us, a wine cruise through Burgundy and Provence, and also a Christmas market cruise for the iconic Christmas markets. So I'm excited about that as well. And I do appreciate you taking your time to come here today.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being with us, and well, hope to see you maybe on internet the next time, but also on board the ship soon.
Yes.
Bye.
Yeah,
Bye.
sounds fun.
Thank you.
Have
Yeah.
a great evening,
Thank you,
everyone.
Tina. Thank you, Sebastian.
Have a good night.
Bye all.
Bye-bye.
Good evening.